Okay, so the makerspace is a place for students, members of the community to be creative, take their ideas and turn them into reality, whatever their ideas might be. So there's a whole host of tools for that, some expertise that's been developed that's useful for that. And we have students and faculty and staff doing great projects there. That's what it's for. It's for being creative.
It has tools. It has a place where they can store their project. It has a community of people who work on the same kind of projects, who may be able to help, who have experience with some of the equipment there. So it's a community of builders, a community of makers and creative types.
That's the laser cutter. Laser cutter, it's actually a very useful device for cutting out two-dimensional shapes. It's been used by faculty in some departments, like a psychologist and his students were just here the other day, cutting out shapes from some two-dimensional material for use in a psychology experiment, a reaching experiment. So that's very interesting. It's used by people to cut out artistic things. You see some things behind us over there, so it's a very useful device. We have a 3D printer. We have milling machines. Actually, a couple of 3D printers. Thank you. And milling machines. We have some heavy-duty equipment in the machine shop. Lots of electronics. Arduinos, which are microcontrollers. They take input information, use the output to control whatever you want.
It's kind of a project turned into a class, which is preparing for participation in a telerobotic rover competition in Houston at Johnson Space Center. And there's now about, I think, 15 students who are working on that for credit as a project, as a research project. So one of the nicest and one of the earliest projects was a collaboration between music and physics, which was a Geiger counter that plays music. So it detects cosmic rays coming up from the heavens and it turns those into musical notes. One of the things it does is it brings together different disciplines. It gets away from the single notion that a physicist does formulas on paper, that a mathematician does formulas, a computer scientist is just doing things on the computer, and that artists or architecture students never get in touch with any of that. So one of the things that the Makerspace has really done well, I think, and which we really want to promote even more, is bringing those different students together in the same room and getting them to understand that you can't just do something that is discipline specific. It always has to tie into a bigger picture, taking into account these connections with different disciplines.
We had an artist, an art professor, come by the Makerspace. He actually did a summer session that Professor DeConnick organized here last year. He walked through the Makerspace and discovered some things. He discovered a hologram kit that was lying around, made a hologram that very day, and added holography to his repertoire, his set of media that he now works in. He, using ideas that he gathered from the Makerspace and elsewhere, and talking with people in the sciences, same professor built a wonderful, what do you call it, the camera oscura, outside of Small Hall. So people now from the community have been walking by seeing what's this, walk across the field, walk into this wonderful structure, and it's very dark inside, but when your eyes get used to it, you see through the pinhole, a pinhole on the side of this camera obscura, you see light from outside that's projected onto a wall, and it's really fantastic. So it's old technology made new again. So that's one thing. So it's certainly something you can imagine the arts making great use of, theater making great use of the technology here. But it's also a place to just exercise creative juices, to become creative. That's useful in whatever field you're going into, right? So we've had people from economics come by. One economics professor came by and thought about and actually started developing some representations of pressures in economics, but represented by hydraulics. It's other kind of physical phenomena that provide an analogy for the kind of pressures that arise in economics. It's those kinds of analogies that are sometimes very useful for thinking about various processes, various disciplines, and Makerspace is a place to put it all together.